Surrounded by the sea, where do you figure Singaporeans would go for a beach barbecue? Stick around and I'll tell all. I'm Thomas Robson and this is Entree to Asia. I promise, we really are going to the beach. But first, a little tour of a traditional Asian wet market with food historian and chef, Devagi Samugai.
You know, during my grandmother's time, this is the sort of market that she would go because nowadays all of us are shopping in the supermarkets because they are much more cleaner and I would say air-conditioned. But this is a wet market.
Boy, I can see that.
You can see all the floor is wet.
Yeah.
And you get this water from the vegetables and the fish and everything.
Well, that's the tradition.
There's a tradition here,
I
that's
love
right.
it.
We still have quite a handful of wet markets here. And look, this is the... Have you seen a lot of the Indian restaurants and the Indonesian restaurants? We actually serve food on banana leaves.
How nice.
And one of the reasons we have few reasons for actually serving on a banana leaf. One is because this is a disposable plate.
Okay,
You eat and you throw
no
that
washing,
away.
no
But
fuss.
it's not cheap, this plate. It's about 10 cents each.
Really?
Yes, it's much expensive
It's
than
a
a paper
China
plate.
shop. Here, let's get a setting for 20.
Yep. And another reason is because banana leaves, when you put some hot food here, it imparts an enzyme that actually we have in our tongue.
Oh, yes?
Yeah, and so it actually enhances the flavor of any food that you put here.
This is just amazing. So you just come up and
Buy everything
here's
you want.
for like stewing and so on?
Yes, stewing, and then we have the bones for the soup. And we have a special dish here called the soup tulang, where they actually use the marrow bones to just make a dish out of it.
Marrow is
Yes.
so delicious.
Yeah. Have you seen this before?
Black chicken.
That's right.
I think back home we call them silky.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think the Cantonese really love this kind of chicken.
Yes, this is actually used in soups. Actually, people don't actually cook it for
For the meat.
for the meat, but they will brew it in a soup, like double boil or steam it, and then they will just throw the chicken away. They just take the essence of the chicken, and this chicken is funny because it's black, but these feathers are real pure white, and then you identify with this black feet. You see chicken feet here? This is used locally by the Chinese actually. They would stew it. It's a kind of a dim sum delicacy.
I've had it, I love it.
Yeah, 5
Thumbs up.
spices. And the Thais actually, you know what the Thais do would scrape this off.
Right, it's got
And
a
then
tough outer skin.
That's right, and they use it as the chicken feet salad.
Whoa.
Here we have a lot of these things that you actually can't find in the supermarket. Like for example, the shark's fin.
Shark fin.
That's right.
I was expecting it with ba-da, ba-da, ba-da.
No. This is already processed, so it's ready for you. So just bring it home and then you boil it in some stock and you do a shark's fin soup out of it.
So when you're eating shark's fin, it's this little filament here in the fin
That's right.
that we eat.
Yes, and it's one of the most expensive products here. This is one of my most favorite stall here because he's got everything that I want.
So what do you do with this fellow?
We cook it into a curry, and it is the #1 favorite dish in Singapore, fish head curry.
Fish head curry.
Yeah. Every wet market actually has got a hawker center that tags along with it.
This is that's a great deal. This is the roti prata.
Roti prata. We call it
Amazing.
the Singapore's answer to the croissant.
It's flaky like a croissant, that's
That's
for
right.
sure, and it's hot and fresh. What is this here?
This is actually a simple mutton curry.
Okay.
It's got potatoes and a bit of meat. You can actually eat your roti prata with sugar, with curry, with sardines, with anything you want, or as it is.
What a perfect end to a day of shopping in the wet market. Singaporeans love to eat in seafood restaurants and seafood centers. We figured we'd find one of the best. Well, freshness is the key, and we found that here on Sentosa Island, a short drive from the heart of Singapore. We're going to go down now to Sharky's Restaurant, seafood specialist, right beside the ocean. How can you get any fresher? Tonight we're going to enjoy an amazing seafood platter. One of the primary garnishes on this platter are Sambal oysters, and that's a house specialty, isn't it, Chua?
Yes, Sambal oyster.
This is Chef Chua.
Hello.
He's the man who gives everything the particular taste that we're looking for. Let's jump right into the Sambal oyster, shall we?
Okay. Let's start. Yeah, basically it's over here. Happy to prepare. First, normally for us, we are going to serve it to the guests. We have to boil the shell first. Okay, we boil the shell first. So otherwise the bacteria will be in the shell.
Okay, so boiling the shell to clean it out first for a safe presentation. Look at how fast that water comes to a boil. That's a powerful walk.
It's coming.
So when you're working with the fresh oyster, you want to be sure about sanitation.
Yes.
Boiling the shell will make sure that there'll be no problems with the bacteria later. I love how easy it is to work around the wok stove. This is a real production line.
Oil. Now, of course, you have to get the wok to be heated up. And oyster itself is cooked very fast. So basically, this is the paste, the sambal paste, which is
It's a sambal chili.
Yes, sambal chili paste. Really advanced prepared. And you heat it up. Sugar. Locals, they really prefer slightly sweet,
So a little sugar to balance the chili heat.
Yes. And here's a fresh oyster. Of course, you have to be fast, otherwise the oyster will be overcooked.
Right.
There you go. Okay, that's it. There you are.
That takes no time at all.
Yes. Basically, this is actually the creations, between Western to local. This oyster itself is come from the New Zealand. In Singapore, we don't have such a big oyster, you see. We have only a small one, which is we use for oyster omelette.
So without the introduction of a more Western-style oyster, there would have been no way to present this dish.
Yes. Yep. Sambal oyster.
Chef Chua is a real master. Now we're going to take this sambal oyster and incorporate it into a seafood platter. We're going to grill some fish over live charcoal.
Okay.
So now Sharky's at Rasa Key is all about choosing your own seafood, your own vegetables, putting it all together. Tonight though, Chef Chua is really going to choose us a premium local fish, something that we can enjoy barbecued. Something of a local fish with a little sort of a Western cooking approach. Should be really good. Can't believe the selection here, but what do you have planned for us?
Sun Hok.
Sun Hok?
Yes, Sun Hok fish, which is typical local. Actually, it's a freshwater fish.
Wow.
It has a very tender, smooth, fine meat, which is give you a kind of very, I should say, it's very tender taste, you know.
In a few short moments, our chosen fish has been cleaned, scaled, and gutted. And now, I guess it's ready for cooking.
Yeah, the fire is ready.
Yeah, which way do you want to lay it down first?
Of course, you got to fry first, you know.
Okay, we start with the side first. When you're cooking fish like that, how do you recommend, like starting with what kind of heat do you suggest?
I should say it's medium heats.
Okay.
It is too, in a barbecue pit, it is too powerful. I mean, the heat is too strong. You know, outside tends to be burnt,
right.
But inside still raw.
Right.
Yeah, it's still alive.
No way. It's done. So if you hold your hand above the fire, how long do you figure you should count to? Maybe about 7, 8?
Yeah, around there.
Okay, an old trick for barbecuing. Count how long you can hold your hand above the fire, and if you get to about 7 or 8, you're just starting to get some medium heat. If you stop at about 5 or 6, you're working with a really high heat. If you only get about as far as 4, you're in trouble. Let it cool down, let it continue to burn until the coals calm down a good bit. So here we are by the sea, but we're going to enjoy a treasured freshwater fish. What's the local name for the fish?
Sun Hok.
Sun Hok, that's right. Sun Hok. With a tender, flaky, soft, and sweet flesh. And then of course here you offer all kinds of different sauces to enjoy it with. So really you can enjoy it with a local flavor, or you can enjoy it with a more Western flavor.
Yes, it's actually the mix here. We have a sauce, you know, garlic butter and cream sauce, which is this is a cream sauce which is made of creams, you know, and some cheese. So it's actually this is a Western sauce, and of course local prefer chilies, you know. We have chili sauce and ketchups.
Okay.
And then we have the belacan chili.
Sambal belacan.
Yes.
Which of course sambal belacan is the chili puree with the specially cooked shrimp paste.
Shrimp paste is a dry shrimp paste.
Added to give the flavor.
Yes.
Fantastic. Shrimp paste is a very important ingredient throughout Southeast Asia. It's found here in Singapore in many different cultures.
This is more Malay culture. Malay cultures are Malay, they like sambal, and in Singapore, at present moment, Singapore, we don't really have much this so-called ingredients, you see. Basically, we import, Singapore, the ingredients are imported from Malaysia.
From Malaysia, so the strong Malaysian influence, and therefore sort of, in a way, Singapore is used to its own history of fusion, isn't it?
Yes.
Lots of different cultures getting together, long before anybody came up with the idea of fusion cuisine or named it New Asia cuisine. Really here, this is the melting pot. This is the place where it really has been happening for centuries.
Yes. In fact, Singapore, I should say that in Singapore, you can have, because of the cultures, 64% of the populations are Chinese, and then about 24% are Malay, and then Indians about 5%. The remaining are the mix, you see. That's why we have a lot of these different cuisines, which is mixed together.
Fantastic freshwater fish grilled right by the ocean. We're going to sit down. Of course, if we wanted to, we could have asked for lobster, shark, prawns. It's all here, right?
Yes.
I'm looking forward to this in particular. Thank you for setting us on the right path with this particular kind of cooking.
You're welcome.
Shall we sit down and enjoy your accomplishment?
Sure.
So here we are now. Great seafood by the sea. How could we do any better? Chef Chua, a toast. Your restaurant is wonderful.
Thank you.
Really sorry you can't join us at this point. If you forgive the pun, we've got to dive in. I love those Sambal oysters. They're spicy and delicious. That kind of barbecue food, to me, is just the way to go. I love it. I could eat it every day. I've got a kind of a barbecue grill recipe here that, believe it or not, is inspired by a Cajun dish. More on that in just a moment. I thought we should get right into the recipe right away. We're going to take some flank steak, and you could use any kind of other meat would be fine, but something that cooks quickly. So slice it thin and make sure it's nice and tender so it'll be pleasant to eat. And we're going to marinate that with some ginger, some fish sauce, some chili powder, or we've got some lovely chili flakes here, some turmeric powder, and here's an interesting thing. This is a piece of fresh turmeric root. Now, if you can find this fresh root in an Asian grocery store, by all means use it. You'll have to pound it or crush it very finely to mix it into this marinade, and keep in mind that turmeric can stain a bright yellow. So when you're working, work with plastic wrap or use an old cutting board, something you don't mind gets a little bit of a yellow stain to it. We've got some turmeric powder here, and that's just as well for this recipe. I also have some coriander seed powder and some cumin seed powder. About a tablespoon of the coriander and about 2 teaspoons of the cumin will be perfect for this, and along with a tablespoon of ordinary white sugar. That'll put our marinade together. So let's mix it all up, shall we? Garlic, chili flakes, turmeric powder, the coriander seed, cumin, sugar, fish sauce, all goes together, and then a special ingredient. I'm going to take some dark, sweet soy sauce, the kind that is popular throughout Southeast Asia. You'll find brands from Malaysia, from Indonesia, even from Thailand. And what you're going to want to add here is just a scant teaspoonful. Look at this, it's thick like molasses. There we go, that's the amount, just a tiny bit at a time. And it's going to give a beautiful, rich, dark color as the meat grills, so it'll be really delicious. This is an optional ingredient, however. I can assure you the dish will look perfect, whether you have the dark soy sauce in there or not. And we'll mix this up now, and we'll add just a couple of tablespoons of oil because we want to grill this dish, and so we want to add a bit of oil so it won't stick to the grill top or to the barbecue bars. So the oil is in, we'll mix that in now, and then we'll simply add the flank steak that we have for today, and we could marinate that for an hour, or we could marinate it for an easy 24 hours, however long you have. If you can plan ahead for this, and that's a great thing to do for picnics, well then by all means do so. And we'll just toss this around here so that the marinade coats it evenly. There we go. Perfect. And then we'll put this back here. And from there, you would wrap it with plastic wrap and put it into your fridge and keep it nice and cold so it can marinate safely. We've got a piece here that has already been marinated, and you can see how the color develops and darkens as it sits for a while. It's just beautiful. And I'm going to grill this on my Korean flat top grill here. This is a marvelous tool in the kitchen. It's very, very easy to use. You can put it over an electric or a gas element or one of these tabletop cookers. And for this dish, I'm just going to add just the tiniest teaspoon of oil so I can moisten the surface of the grill stone. There we go. You see, it's quite hot. We're getting a little bit of smoke off the top there. That's just fine. Do this in a well-ventilated place in any case, because of course you are grilling. Now, we'll take our flank steak and lay it down on top. Okay, we just want to let it cook quickly on both sides because we want that lovely pinkness inside. We can eat beef rare, of course, and that'll give a beautiful contrast with the vegetables that we're going to serve this on top of. Day 17. We're more than 2 weeks into this food adventure and, well,
Frankly, my mind's beginning to wander a little. But what a place to wander, the island of Sentosa. A 15-minute ferry ride across the water just south of Singapore. I was told this place is known as the Island of Tranquility. I can see why. I can feel the tension just melt away here. If I close my eyes and think of swaying palm trees, warm, fragrant breezes, soft white sand, and blue, very blue waters, this is what comes to mind. If Sentosa didn't exist, I'd have to invent it. On my day off, of course. Maybe just a couple of days on the beach. Relax, work on my tan, kick back a few cool tropical drinks, sample the food. It always comes back to the food.
So this is yu choy. It's a wonderful Chinese vegetable. It's basically a green, not unlike spinach, except of course it has a much thicker stalk. Any kind of green will do, and in particular I like beet greens. That would be an excellent choice for this dish. But kale, curly endive, that would all be fine. I'm going to cut the stalk. Well, let's be sensible. First, let's separate the tougher part of the vegetable from the tenderer part of the vegetable. So we're going to cut the leaves away, and then we're going to take the stalks and cut them just on an angle. The idea of cutting on an angle with root vegetables and coarse stalks like this is to expose as much of the surface area as possible to the hot oil. We're going to stir fry this. That exposure to the hot oil helps the tougher part of the vegetable cook much more quickly. Now we'll just cut the leaves and we'll put them in a separate dish because we'll cook everything together but at different times. So the stalks will start out first, then the leaves will go in second, so that everything is perfectly cooked and nothing is overdone. And now it's time to go over to the wok and get our wok going, stir frying. Turn on the heat. We want to preheat our wok, and that's important. If you add the oil into the pan right away, well, the oil's going to burn first before the wok or whatever utensil you're using for frying is up to the right temperature. You can always use a cast iron frying pan for this, or even a non-stick skillet. That'll be fine. Okay, our wok is hot. We'll need about 2 to 3 tablespoons of oil for this one, and we'll swirl it around to get nice and hot. And right away in goes some finely chopped garlic. About 3 cloves of garlic, and we'll let the garlic and the oil do their magic together. We don't want the garlic to brown, so now we're going to add the yu choy stalks right away. And we'll give this a quick toss. Just like this. And then just a splash of ordinary water. About 1/4 cup will be fine. And what that does is that helps to steam the yu choy so that the stalks become lovely and tender. Now we're going to add the greens. And of course, working with the wok, always work with your heat. I'm going to reduce it just a bit. Give this a toss. A splash of sesame oil, just a tiny little bit. And a splash of Chinese cooking wine, dry sherry, or whiskey will be fine as well. And again, we'll mix this all up. Just like this. And this is part of the secret of stir-frying greens like this. You do need to use a hotter heat. You need to fry quite quickly so that they remain bright green and come out tender and delicious. Over to the table now. We can serve this all up. There's a lovely scoop of greens, stir-fried. And now we'll take our flank steak and we'll carve some pieces off of that. On the angle, working against the grain. Here we go. Oh, there's some nice pinkness there. We'll cut this into thin strips so that you'll find the flank steak a little bit tenderer. And also keep in mind, in Southeast Asia, you rarely get served large pieces of meat. You want to be eating this with chopsticks, so obviously you can't eat a whole steak with chopsticks very easily. And we'll arrange this a little bit. And so here's a dish that has its inspiration in Creole or Cajun cookery with a nice Singaporean twist to it. Grilled beef and greens, Singaporean style. I live to eat. And
that's why I feel so at home in Singapore. At all hours of the day, you can enjoy so many different kinds of cuisines. But I gotta tell you, Singapore is not the only city where you can enjoy so much variety. More on that next time on Entree to Asia. I'm Thomas Robson.
To find out more about Entree to Asia, including recipes and program descriptions, visit our website at www.entreetoasia.com.